Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Writing the Rapids, the not quite monthly anymore show where I talk to writers who are recommended to me by other writers. You can support this show on Patreon if you want. Might help the show be more consistently posted. Might help me be able to pay people for their time and work. But if not, it's all right. You could always just buy some books. On the show with me this month, we have Noah Cicero. Noah Cicero is 38 years old, grew up in a small town near Youngstown, Ohio. He has lived in Eugene, Oregon, Grand Canyon, Arizona, Seoul, South Korea, and currently resides in Las Vegas, Nevada. He has a movie made of his first book called The Human War, which won the 2014 Beloit Film Festival Award for Best Screenplay. He has books translated into Turkish, Kurdish, and Spanish. His first book of poetry, Bipolar Cowboy, was voted one of the best books on Goodreads in 2015. He has many short stories, articles, and poems published at such places as Thought Catalog, 3AM Magazine, Wales Review, Amphibie.us, and more. I feel like I came into your writing at sort of a turning point. The first book I read was Blood-Soaked Buddha, and then I read Give It to the Grand Canyon. And looking at your back catalog, having stuff published in Lazy Fascist and fiction in New York Tyrant and stuff, and sort of being loosely aware of your connections to like Tao Lin and Sam Pink and stuff, I feel like, did I come in at like a turning point in the Noah Cicero over?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, my first book was published when I was 23, The Human War, and I lived in Ohio, and that book and like Go to Work and The Insurgent and all those books were kind of written from a guy in his 20s wrote them, who was like extremely angry and extremely like kind of like just like Bruce Springsteen kind of life, where he wants to get out of his town and he isn't happy, and he is just completely just like kind of sheltered. I think the person who wrote those books was kind of sheltered, and it kind of comes from that point of view. And then I went to South Korea in 2012 or so for a year, and kind of like that just changed me. And I had like new friends when I came back. Like I think previous to that, if you're like gonna really investigate, I spoke to a lot of kind of alt-lit people. And I would go to New York City like 2-3 times a year and do readings and just go there and talk to people. And I had a group of people that I was communicating with every day on the internet. And after I went to South Korea, I came back and I just I went to the Grand Canyon and lived, and I moved to Las Vegas. And I just did not, I have had really no East Coast life since 2011. East side of America life. Like that, I've been back there total of 8 days maybe since 2011. Like, so I kind of just disappeared from that whole thing, and I got into different books, and I became a happier person, and I started doing things that I really like. I don't know, I guess you say take charge of your life, and you start doing different things, and it's kind of what happened. So you came at the point where I was a happier person. And the books aren't like so claustrophobic, and they're more hopeful, I think, now.
Yeah, I'd say so. The epilogue and Give It to the Grand Canyon is like this beautiful little dream of the future that made me very happy to read, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's possible to do that at the Grand Canyon because it basically stays the same. If you went there in 1890, it basically would look the same as it does today.
Yeah, I've never been out there. It makes me want to go out there.
Oh yeah, you have to go. Go ahead.
One of the things I noticed was just a lot of interactions with native people and give it to the Grand Canyon, which is interesting to me. Part of my work that I do for money in Michigan has to do with filming stuff for the native community out here, and like the constant reminders that there's no native people left in Ohio, and then hanging out with all the Navajo people in the Grand Canyon I found interesting.
When I lived in Ohio, I don't think I ever encountered a Native American. I just don't remember it. Like, I don't have any recollection of it. That day ever happening. But in the Grand Canyon, you work at the Grand Canyon. So right next to it is the Navajo Reservation and the Hopi Reservation, and then in New Mexico they have Apaches, and a lot of the workers, the yearly workers, the ones that would work all year, were Native American. And so that was really interesting. I mean, because they were I don't know, they were just slightly different than culturally. I mean,
the thing that I noticed a lot is just like the sort of internal pain that is always there. Like, everybody's kind of just like, you know, they're living their lives and they're happy and they have families and everything, but there's always that, like, they look at something and you can just kind of tell that there's pain there, you know?
You mean in the Native American?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess there was like some pain. There was this really good thing. There was this old woman, her name was Eleanor, and I think she's got like a character in the book, but I don't remember the name. And she remember one time she told me, she goes to me something like, your Nobel Prize is for you. Your Oscars are for you. She was like, we don't need your Oscars. We don't need your Nobel Prize. We don't need that. Those things aren't even in our world. They're for you. You're giving those awards to yourselves and congratulating yourselves. I was just like eating a sandwich, and she said this to me. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's probably, but you grow up thinking, like, they teach you that, like, if you do not win these awards, you do not get these things. It's like your fault. It's your fault. You didn't do it. And it's like, you know what? Like, I mean, it made me sit there and think too. Like, my mom was a tow motor driver. My dad was a meat cutter at a Super Kmart. And I'm like, well, those things aren't for me either. Why do I think they're important? Like, they're not important. Like, to the people they're important to, who make them and do them. It's like, oh yeah. I mean, there's this thing where you're like, you can go one step into the deepness and you can be like, yeah, these aren't for you. And then you can take another step and be like, okay, what is my relationship to this giant famous world? I think they kind of taught me that, like I'm not that far removed from it taught me about my own situation, because I let it teach me. I didn't, because there's so much you have to like break through mentally to see your own situation. I don't know if that makes sense. Go ahead with yes and no question.
Well, I think that leads into my trying to contextualize the timeline. So while you were at the Grand Canyon, where was that in relationship to your digging into Buddhism?
Let me think here. So when I went to South Korea, I didn't really read any. I got a book of Chung Tzu, an Edward Burden translation, and I read that, and I thought it was really cool. Then I came home, but I didn't do any things in South Korea. I didn't know. I went to like some temples because they were giant and really beautiful, and I went to Cambodia and saw Angkor Wat. And I thought that was really beautiful. And I came home. And I don't know why, but I bought like I had all this money, and I bought like 20 books like on Buddhism really quickly, like a bunch of intro books.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and I kind of read them the entire summer. I took a picture of them. It's somewhere. I think I even read the books, the books of the saints too.
Mm.
And I read all of them, and then then I came back from the Grand Canyon. I went to Las Vegas, and I couldn't find a job. And then my friend who lived in this kind of cabiny house, A-frame house on a dirt road out, I'd say by Silverton, Oregon. And her boyfriend left her of 9 years, and so she said, "Come into my house and hang out with me. I feel really bad." And she made lots of money, so she just had me come over, and I just stayed in her house for like 2 months before I went. And then I sit there and I think I bought the Bodhidharma book, the Teachings of Bodhidharma, with like one of those Barnes and Noble's Christmas gift cards. And I went and I was in this A-frame house, and I remember it started snowing really hard, and it really doesn't snow in Oregon, so they don't buy salt.
Mm.
So you're just trapped. So we were trapped, her and I, for about 3 to 4 days on top of a mountain. We could not get off. I only had 6 cigarettes or something, so I would just hit it like twice and pone it out. And it wasn't an American Spirit; it was some crappy one that burns really quick. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know if you smoke or not, but one of those cheap ones that just burn really quickly. And so I had about 6 cigarettes for like 3 days, being trapped, and I just sat there reading Bodhidharma for like 3 days, and it was that's when that kind of started. And then I came back to Vegas, and I think, well, I got those like Alan Watts kind of What is Zen kind of books, and another one, and I wrote down all the names like Bodhidharma, Huning, Hung Po, Lin Chi. You make the list. I'm very organized. I'm very I'm not whimsical person. I make a list. I follow the list. I do the list. I read all the intro books first. I did, you know what I mean? Like I follow the rules, and I make rules. I follow the rules. That's what I do. And so I went through the entire thing, and then I had Brad Warner, the guy who wrote Hardcore Zen. I somehow know him through some kind of weird movie connection or something. Long story, but he has lots of books published, and he's like, I think considered a Buddhist priest. I think it's his thing. And he would tell me what to read next and what to do. And I started with Bodhidharma, and then I read the entire thing, and then I read the Vantara Sutra. I can't remember the Vantara Sutra. Wait, it's right here. The Vantara Sutra.
Okay.
And so this is kind of like the origin of Zen, is this book. And no one knows who wrote it. No one knows exactly where it came from. They think it was written in, I think, Sri Lanka or somewhere. But I read multiple translations of Huning. I got every single possible English translation I could get off Amazon. Got like 5 of them. I read every single one of them. That's how obsessed I was. I was just super obsessed. My friend Brad, he's so obsessed with Dogen that he will. Brad Warner, the person I mentioned earlier, he is so obsessed that he has gone, like, people have someone would have translated something of Dogen inside a monastery or something in America. He's like flown there, went to the temple or the monastery, and then, because it was never published, it's just sitting in the back, like just sitting there, like in a book, like handwritten or something. He'll just sit there and read the entire thing. He'll like stay at the hotel, and he'll go every day and sit and just read this book, just checking it out, just seeing how they did it. So then you get really nerdy with translations and stuff. That's like a thing. You just nerd out on that too. and then you find a part you like, and then you get the 5 books together and you look at each part and see how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing, like even doing that, is like a exercise in itself.
Yeah. I remember doing something like that in a classics class in college with like a Carpe Diem poem or something, and we got like 5 different translations, and it's like, what does Carpe Diem actually mean? And that was interesting. What did you find looking at all those different translations?
What did I find?
Yeah, like, were there major differences or anything that seemed like crazy out of place?
No, I never felt like that at all. I never felt like they were odd. I've always had like a lot of respect for translators, and I didn't feel like they were just so different. Like I don't. When someone says like, "Oh, the Bible is translated and this happened and this happened," like I don't really listen to it. Like I don't listen to those types of kind of thing. I'm not bothered by weird translations or anything.
Okay.
But if you go with Han Shan, do you know Han Shan?
I don't know.
So Han Shan was a Chinese poet from like I don't know what 500 or something. I can't remember. And Gary Snyder translated him, and then Red Pine translated him, and I think Edward Byrne translated him. All these different people have different translations. But if I could get into a big thing about Han Shan translations, Basho translations too. I mean, the one where the frog jumps in the water, or it goes plop, or it's the sound of water. Have you ever read, about this poem?
I don't know.
Yeah, we can get into a big fight. We can get big fights about that. I don't know. I can get into a big fight about poetry translations really easily, a lot more than I could about a religious one.
I'm seeing there's a DT Suzuki translation of your frog poem, frog haiku. Water sound. Yeah.
Water sound.
The sound
of splash or it's ploop.
I guess the next thing we can kind of transition into is interesting to me. I did see, because I try to do a little bit of research when I talk to people on the show. I did see that you and him were in that movie together, and I've actually been aware of his writing for a while. I read Sex, Sin, and Zen and Hardcore Zen, and I have Don't Be a Jerk, which is a Dogen translation.
Oh yeah, you're very informed in all this. You should interview him next.
Oh, well, I don't know. I have a strange anxiety interviewing people who I have read before. Like, I like this because it's the way that this is set up is that the people I talk to give me a list of people, and then so like I'll talk to that person and I won't buy their books until they've said yes, they'll be on the show with me, unless I've already read them. But I mean, that way I'm not spending a bunch of money on books for people I'm not going to be able to talk to, because I spend too much money on books anyway, right? So like if I'm going to buy books, I need to like justify to myself that I'm buying them, and I haven't like talked to a person for this show yet that I haven't enjoyed their writing or talking to them. So it's been working out, but I do have an anxiety of like meeting people who I already admire, Oh, wow. Brad will be fine. You'll enjoy very much. Yeah. He'll be very charming. I like his YouTube videos for sure. It stretches my what I'm like my understanding of Buddhism, right? Because especially lately in the past couple of years, he's been talking a lot about like political activism and Buddhism, and especially with regard to like your West Coast Buddhists who are all sort of liberal Democrats who are saying it's our moral duty as Buddhists to stand up against Trump or whatever.
Yeah, he says that all the time. I don't really know that world close enough.
Yeah.
to know exactly what they're doing. I mean, I know when you go to a Buddhist event, it's very liberal, and it's very it's never poor blue collar people.
No.
Never. I mean, I don't know anything about secular Buddhism.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like I had I read the books just like I would have read Aristotle, or higher. Like, I didn't read them. I mean, I don't. I mean, I went to South Korea 2 years ago, and someone said something because the class that I was helping with or something, I had to go do these classes with these people for the South Korea. The embassy brought me over, the U.S. embassy, and this like 45-year-old woman, Korean woman, was like, "I'm Buddhist my whole life," and there's a difference between being a cradle Buddhist. You know, cradle, cradle Catholic.
Yeah.
So a cradle Buddhist and just reading the book. And I was like, yeah, I totally concede. Like, I completely concede. And, but it was like, yeah, I don't know what they do. I don't want to go to their events.
Yeah.
I don't have any interest in, doing those events.
No, I totally agree. It's so,
But I mean, a religion, the Catholic religion, people have this really, like Catholic religion or Buddhist religion or Jewish religion, the religion things. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
We're quiet. They don't understand these things have been around for thousands of years. And they've been around for thousands of years because they give to Caesar what's Caesar's. And that's how they survive, because they're not supposed to be a thing. They're like time stopped at some point. And this building is where time stops. And you go to the Catholic Church, and it's really, really like you go in there and your first impression, oh my God, this is the most boring thing I've ever seen. But the whole thing is that it's supposed to be, it's not boring. It's what's been done for 2,000 years. And it's just not, it's just supposed to be like this. It's just a utility. And you can walk in there and be like, okay, I'm going to be okay at this. I'm just going to go on Sunday with my family, and it's going to teach my kids some level of endurance or something, some kind of thing. It'll help me in the community. It'll help people think I'm normal. You can do all kinds of really surface level of things. And then you can walk in there and you could be like, I mean, I just think about it like chemistry class in high school. Like, you don't have chemistry class because you're all going to be chemists. You have chemistry class in high school to find out who can be a chemist. So you all could go in there and get a C. You know what I mean? And leave, and then and you could go. But there's going to be some people that walk into that chemistry class in 11th grade and get an A+.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's not, but it's just people have this thing where they think that everyone can do anything they want. And there is nothing worse than that fucking thought. Nothing can more pollute logic than thinking that everyone can just do anything. And it's just some kind of, I don't know. I don't know. It's just people have talents, and they walk. I don't know. It's just, for me, like the Buddha. You don't have to be politically something. Yeah. It's just the same thing forever. It's all it's going to. I mean, they had it. Even when China would, they go around killing each other all the time in ancient China. They would just still sit there on the mountain, watching them kill each other from the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts on it?
I do. I mean, like, I was raised Catholic, so like I totally understand that sort of thing. And I mean, my grandparents remember when the church services were in Latin still. Yeah. Or I remember stories my grandfather would tell me about, like, yeah, there used to be certain times during the Mass you would ring the bell to tell people to pay attention because they were just doing the rosaries because it was in Latin. And when we switched to English, we started phasing that out, and we had a priest who like really didn't want the bells to be rung anymore and would like scream and like hit the altar boys when they would ring the bell. And that sort of idea of like, I don't know, Mom, like, why are we doing this? Why are we going here? Like, I can read the Bible at home and pray at home. Like, why are we doing this? Like, I don't really like some of the things that the Catholic Church is doing or saying, or, you know, all the priest stuff that's been going on forever. And she's like, yeah, well, it's there for the community. I'm like, okay, like, I'll go here for the community. And I go and like, I hang out with the kids in youth group, but we get back to school and nobody wants to talk to me. You know, you do the weekend retreats where everybody's like high on Jesus and singing songs and hanging out and talking. And then you go to school on Monday and you sit down at the lunch table and everybody like gets up and leaves. And you're like, okay, well, if we're here for the community and the community like doesn't want me here, then I guess I like don't have to go anymore.
That's funny. It sounds fucking sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing. And I mean, even younger religions, I was hanging out with a bunch of Sikh people a couple weeks ago in London. I was there shooting a documentary, and that particular temple was like, yeah, there's people that are doing it like just for tradition, like, you know, like they're cutting their hair, they're doing all that stuff. Nobody's actually like practicing the religion anymore. So here we're actually coming here to practice the religion. And it's an interesting thing to me, like my experience with Zen, even though I've definitely fallen off from sitting every day and I haven't read a Zen book in a while, like it's like, I don't want to be part of a group. Like I definitely read about how important Sangha is. Ryu Suzuki talks about it a lot, and I'm just like, I don't know about that.
You mean like how important it is to go to the temple or something?
Yeah, or just, I don't know, it seems as though anytime you experience a religious or religious adjacent practice, there's always that emphasis on doing it with other people or being around other people who do it. And it's like never appealed to me, regardless of the practice, you know? Like I've looked into old Norse paganism and stuff, and that's like part of it too. It's like, yeah, like find the people in your area who are doing it and do it with them. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
I don't know. I mean, I really like a Catholic mass. Like I really like being around people during it. But the thing is, nobody talks during it.
Yeah, that's true.
And I really like that. I really like how it's like a giant silent activity. I'm not a kid though. You know, I didn't do. You were a kid and you had this experience, and I am a 30-something-year-old man, and I have a completely different understanding of what could or could not happen. When you're a kid, you don't know what you have expectations, and you're very emotionally tied to these expectations. But I'm like an adult, so I can go and I can be like, I really like that no one talks to me.
Yeah.
But we're all doing the same thing, and it's so much fun, and I really like the music and everything. And but it's always when people have religions, people have lots of expectations of what they are. So my real job, the one that pays the bills, is I work with focus groups for trials, for civil litigation, and so one of the most easiest things to do at a trial is to get you to sue an insurance company like USAA. Oh my God, it's so easy. So USAA, the one for the military. Oh, they are a pro-military thing, and they're treating the veterans terribly. Oh my God, it runs easy. It just goes right down everyone's throat. Oh yeah, they shouldn't be treating, because they have higher expectations for USAA than they do for Geico.
Sure.
And so every time, this is you know, the Bhagavatura Sutra 101 here is, First off, when you have an expectation that is slightly irrational, number one, you're going to cause yourself pain because you're putting a demand on the situation. Number two is that if someone who's smarter than you, at least in that situation, knows you have that expectation, they can manipulate you. So you've double fucked yourself, because now you don't like what's happening, and someone who's got one up on you, 3 IQ points higher, 5 IQ point, 10 IQ points higher, just figured out how to fuck up your day, and just turn your mind right into a thing. So just get you to do what they want. So people have these expectations of churches and religions that are completely and absolutely, I mean, they're just false. There's no reason to expect anything good. Like, you just go there. The only thing that's happening is you're all sitting together, or you're all doing the thing, you're listening to music. That's the only thing that's actually happening. You've all come together and you're sitting in a room. It's a giant institution. I mean, you wouldn't go to Geico and get mad at them if someone did something. You wouldn't go to the NFL. I mean, these are just institutions. And then someone says one's good or one's bad. But like any large-scale bureaucratic institution is not beautiful. But it's just there in case you're good at chemistry. If you're the one person who's good at it. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't expect everyone to be fine. I don't expect it. Yeah. I would more, I mean, I put, not cynically. The thing is that, okay, as soon as you stop expecting it to be good, what happens then? You become cynical. And you just bounce in the George Carlin world. So you went from, oh, I like the Pope. Then you're 12 years old, something pisses you off, and you're like, no, I'm George Carlin. And you're like, that's what happens to the American liberal. Like, so many of them just jumped. They just it's like they just went to a completely different continent. And then because they just got angry, and you're like, well, what happened to the entire middle? It's like you didn't even walk. You just took a plane to George Carlin land on a Thursday, when there's like a whole middle world. The middle world people, they're commonly boring and well behaved. Yeah. I mean, it's just like a thing. Like I know it's like in the 21st century, the best husband is a douchebag. You know, because he goes to work every day, he cleans, he knows when he needs to listen. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's how that sounded, but a lot of the best people are douchebags in this century, because they're normal and they're well behaved.
Oh, you froze on me. Uh-oh. Oh, you're back. Okay. I lost you for a second. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. The thing that causes me a lot of sort of like philosophical legwork is to understand the sort of Buddhist idea of middle path and doing your thing and stuff, and also like the radical leftist, like if there's a Nazi in a group of 20 people, you have a group of...
I haven't heard you for like a minute.
Oh, yeah, you froze on me, and then you came back for a second, and I started to respond, and then and then you froze on me again. Okay, so we're back.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was talking about like that sort of the jump and the gap and the middle road stuff, how there's mental gymnastics, philosophical gymnastics that happen for me with like the middle road sort of thing, and you know, chopping wood, carrying water, and also like there are people literally burning down the Amazon. You should go there and like pick up a gun and do something about it, right? Like the stuff I see on Twitter all the time about like the non-racist person does more for racism than the anti-racist person does, and wondering like where all of that comes together? Like, how do you mesh those two things, or can you?
Wait, can you say this again? I had a hard time pulling this together in my brain.
Sure. And the idea of walking the middle road, the sort of Buddhist idea of, chop wood, carry water, do your thing, sit zazen, be nice, be compassionate, and like that seems good to me. Like, I can handle that, I can do that, but I also hang out in a lot of like radical leftist areas of the internet and read, Marx and Zizek and people like that. And I see stuff where people are like, if you're not doing something actively, you are participating against the movement. So if you're a writer and you're writing something and what that writing isn't actively working against racism or against fascism or something, like, you're just contributing to the noise that allows it to exist, right?
Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, number one. So my first step is to carry the water of being like, when I speak to people, I treat them equally. So that's my first thing that I need to do, is to learn if there's something deep inside of my Ohio white person life that has taught me that when I am speaking to an African American and a Hispanic and a white person, that I am giving everyone the same amount of respect and time. So I have to carry that water all day, every day. I have to learn that first. How do I spontaneously, without any kind of forcing myself, I am going to interact with a woman that I have zero attractiveness to, and there is a woman sitting right next to her that is, for some reason, my subconscious horny self thinks is just amazingly attractive. And how do I give? I need to spontaneously give, without any forethought, love and caring to both. And you think, oh, that's really it's so that's the first thing you got to do, is to learn how to do that, and learn how to look at a child and look at an old person, and you don't see any real big difference in how much you should care about them. Because we're so trained that children are somehow more important than old people or 37-year-old men. And especially in the trials, if you're a 35 to like 50-year-old man, nobody cares. A jury never cares. They just go, well, you should just go to work. If they're like 51, they're like, oh, they're old and it's really sad. If they're like 29, oh my God, they have to live the rest of their life like that. 35 to like 49-year-old men, who cares? I don't care. Here's $200,000. A 28-year-old with the same exact injury, here's $1.5 million. A 55-year-old with the same exact injury, here's $1.5 million. And you can just watch that all day because of our expectations. Oh, well, they're nothing. Who cares about a 38-year-old man? Who cares about a 37-year-old woman? They should just go to work with their back hurt. Of course. Why wouldn't they? But they're old. We feel more sympathy. They're young. So you have all these discriminations and arrangements in your head. And so that's the first water you have to carry, is this kind of, I have to first learn how to interact with people. Like I'm a child. Like you're 32 years old and you're like, I am a child and I need to learn how to behave because my parents never taught me. These books can teach me. And that's hard to admit that you go, my parents didn't do a good job. My parents, my community did not teach me how to talk to people and how to treat them. And that is an incredibly, if you can do it, you are as brave as you can get, I think. Because you're saying, man, I'm going to, they didn't do it right. And it's so hard for a person to say, you know what, my parents didn't do it right. They did not teach me. And because so you first learned that, and then your next question was something about. Did that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And then just like, you know, how do you go from that to, you know, smashing the state, you know?
Smashing the state. So you want to smash the state? This is your question, or
I mean, like, yeah, just like how do you? I guess the thing is that it's tough to have a sort of like large scale perspective of what you were just talking about having, like, as an individual, right? Like, individually not doing actions and not having thoughts that perpetuate those sort of things, and then but like participating in a world that's built around them, right? The meme I see a lot is there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, right? Like, even though I bought your book and I know that you're a pretty decent person, and I know that Kat and her boyfriend who published the book are pretty decent people. I see them on Twitter and they seem fine and stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know where the trees to make that paper got cut down. I don't know what workers had to, you know, like, get paid 4 cents a day to cut down the trees to make the paper, and you know, all that stuff, right? Like, how do I, like, participate in the world that is, like, built to oppress, even though in my own head and in my own, like, actions between people, like, I'm nice, you know?
You are asking...
Answer me, Buddhist man!
I'm not... No. You're saying that how do you interact with people even though it's happening, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, just like... I guess the feeling is, like, it feels like there's more I should be doing than just being nice. Than, like, just being a not racist person, or not being a not misogynist person. Like, I think that's the question that Brad gets asked a lot in ways that I don't think fully illuminate what the heart of the question is. And obviously I'm struggling to get at the heart of the question, but the question is, like, I guess maybe thinking of it as a question is limiting, but, like, so the problem is that the world is interconnected, philosophically, like, on a Buddhist level, like, the world is interconnected, and that's cool, but, like, even without that, like, practically the world is interconnected, right? So I think it was in Hardcore Zen, Brad talks about karma, and he talks about how karma is instantaneous. So, like, if you punch a person, the karma you're getting is right as you're punching the person, right? Like, you're hurting somebody. That's your karma. Your karma is you did a bad thing. But, like, if I go to the store and buy an apple, you know, I'm kind of, like, doing a bad thing, because, like, the migrants who are living in trailers getting paid 4 cents a day, who got bussed up from Mexico for the fall to not get paid very well and not get treated very well, just to get bussed down to Mexico again in the winter so that they can give some money to their family to not starve during the winter in Mexico. And I'm clogging everything with metaphors, but the problem is that, like, everything I do or buy in the world that isn't, like, a strictly one-to-one interpersonal interaction, like, perpetuates some form of oppression or discrimination or exploitation. And there's, like, no way that without actively trying to dismantle those systems for me to, like, not participate in them. Right? And like I've been searching for a while for like the Buddhist answer to that, and I'm struggling to find it.
What do you? I mean, you're saying that everything you do is when you do buy things, it's bad.
I mean, kind of, yeah. But, like, not just me, right? Like, everybody who goes to the store is, like, participating in that, right? Like, you know, I found it interesting in Give It to the Grand Canyon, talk about how all these women have Beyonce now. But, like, you buy a Girls Run the World t-shirt that Beyonce designed or whatever, right? And, like, it's women in a sweatshop in Taiwan, like, making those t-shirts, and they're not being paid a living wage, so they don't have 401ks or healthcare. Like, it feels so gross.
Okay, so I mean, this is a super complex.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so I work with immigrants, and I work with them and their children, and they want their children to grow up and have good jobs and buy apples. And they're not thinking about it, a lot of them. Even if they knew that their cousin was an apple picker, they are not going to think about it. They're going to be like, as soon as my cousin rises 1 inch, I'm done thinking about apples. And you have that right there. You have a lot of that. You have a lot of... It's a lot of people, as soon as they rise 1 inch, regardless of race, they stop thinking about everyone 1 inch below. And that's what the majority of the people do. And I don't know. I mean, I have given a million drunken and coffee shop things, just like you did. So, I mean, there's no short of it in my thing. But there's also a point in me where I almost feel like it's just a personality type that thinks it's bad. Like, it's just... Like, it's, you know, like, the easiest one is musical talent. And everyone has that friend where you can be like, you put on a song, it doesn't matter if it's by, you know, a country song, rap song, or Bach. And they're like, yeah, this is in C minor. And they're doing a 4/5 beat or something. Instantly. And you're just like, what the fuck are you hearing that I'm not hearing? We're in the same room. We both have ears. You're hearing something that I'm not hearing. And I think there's just a small portion of the population that can hear it. And it's not enough to win. Like, that portion of the population that has the talent to hear the misery I can go and work directly with immigrants, and I can go and do this and this and this. And I can work really hard. And I think that if I keep at it, me and the people working, things can be helped. But I don't expect other people to be able to say, you know what, this is in C minor, and it's in a 4/5 beat. I don't expect other people to hear it. And I take CBD oil every night to go to sleep too. So that was another answer that I have for you is some small narcotic also helps deal with that. I don't know if that's the Buddhist answer, but I think the only thing I can is like, I know I can do something. Like, I feel like if you're the kind of person who can hear the D minor of suffering, of injustice. I mean, it really hurts because you think about, like, I get paid and I basically give all my money. I get my money from the top 1 to 10%, you know, and then they give me some every 2 weeks. And then I basically give all of it back unless I like go to a local Chinese place. So $12 has gone to my local community, to someone who might live in my city. $12 out of all the money I make. Or if I go to the pupusa El Salvadorian restaurant on the corner. So about $27 I've spent on people that might have kids who go to school here, like live here. 27 fucking dollars out of all my money. I was like, and then they take the money and then they go and you go there and you go to work, and then while you're at work, they're taking some portion of your labor and paying off a politician to take more of your labor and to take less money of theirs and more of yours. And then you go and buy something, and the person you bought it from is doing the same thing. And it's completely if you are just existing makes your life worse in America. The fact that you just exist, the only thing you can do is the only way you can be okay with it is if you as long as you don't have that talent where you don't hear the D minor of suffering, of injustice, then you can just peacefully live in it. But it's very there's so many things that just make your life worse that you think are making your life better. Is that what you're trying to say?
I guess so. It's just I'm not entirely sure. I guess I think about the sort of bodhisattva sort of thing, where it's just trying to make it better for everybody. But not only does just existing in America make your life worse, just existing in America means that you are making other people's lives worse, right?
Yeah.
It's just a little thought experiment I try every once in a while. We've gotten really far away from writing. I got real far away. This is the farthest away in this show I think I've ever gotten from writing.
Well, it's tough. To think that you have to exist like that. You have to exist where you make your life worse by existing. And all of your pleasures have now become, all of your happiness have become monetized by people that would never speak to you. And it's so oh my God, it's listening to a rich person talk about how their kids are juniors in high school and they've had a professional college person come to give them tours of college to find and give them personality tests to find the right college. So you're not only richer than me, but your children are going to be richer because you've just monetized. You're just winning. You're constantly winning, and there's nothing I can do to get ahead on you. And your megalomania is something so powerful that you don't even see it. Yeah. And I'm talking about rich people I know who donate to liberals.
Yeah. Well, there's an idea in a book by Slavoj Žižek where he talks about the liberal communist. He talks about people like Bill Gates who give millions of dollars to cure malaria in Africa, but at the same time there's people who work for Microsoft who are making minimum wage. And you're yeah, you're a nice dude, but dude, come on, come on. Yeah. Is sort of the thing, right?
But those people don't even see it.
Yeah.
They have no idea. They have no idea that's happening because they can't hear it. And it's they can't hear the sounds of it. They just don't hear it. And you can't get it through to them. But I don't know. I feel there's this confusion from movies because we start watching movies when we're really little. In movies, everyone is redeemable. Everyone is redeemable in a movie. The worst fucking person ever is going to come around right at the end and realize they should have loved their kid or something. But that's not how things work. That is not how they work. And you need to get it in your fucking head that there are people who do not give a shit and will never give a shit
Yeah.
And I mean, there's nothing you can do. You just need to fucking leave. If you're benefiting their business by being the best fucking worker, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, man.
Like, just fuck. I mean, there's no fucking way you can fucking do anything.
Yeah. Well, so that's the thing. is just like there's this like constant desire to like, or this constant sort of drive to like participate, to make things better, participate in something, right? Like go to your local open mics and clap really hard and stuff, so that like the writers of tomorrow will like feel like writing is a good thing to do. But like, man, oh man, do I want to just like not participate in anything? Do I want to like, yeah, like me personally, like I want to just like sit in my lawn with my dog and like not work and not talk to people and like just have my wife come home at the end of the day, and then I'll like talk to her, and like that's good, like that's enough humanity, right? And you're like, I'm like constantly tugged in those two directions, because like I also personally want people to write more, and I want people like you and the people who I've talked to on this podcast to like have their books in Barnes and Noble and have like your 45-year-old like mother read it at the beach, you know? And so I'm like trying to do both things simultaneously. Which is weird, you know, it's that constant like duality of being alive.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So the work that you do, I'm just gonna hard cut on this, because otherwise we're gonna go forever, and I don't want to take your entire Saturday.
I'll give you a thing. So in the legal world, where they're talking to people during a voir dire, the lawyer will be talking. You know, voir dire, when they talk to a jury. Okay. You go, let's etch a sketch. You can have that. I'll sell it to you for 30 cents.
Great. All right.
You can use that in. I think it sounds good. It's like, let's etch a sketch, and you move to the next thing.
Yeah. I like it. Let's etch a sketch right now. You sent me a link to a news story and said, this is my current writing project. If you have time, ask me about this. And you mentioned working with immigrants. So let's have you just go deeper into it.
So the place I work at is called the Reba's Worker Center. It's in Las Vegas, and it's part of this giant thing called Anzalon, it's an acronym or something. And it helps immigrants all through America. Workers, stopping deportations. One of them is TPS, which is a temporary protective status, which most people don't know what that is. Like, have you... most people probably listening and be like, I don't know what that is at all. So a temporary protective status was given to people from 8 different countries in the 90s. And 2 of them were Honduras and El Salvador. And so these people came over after the Civil War, in the Civil War, and this earthquake that happened in Central America. And they came here, and they came through Mexico, or a couple of them flew here. And they have this legal status that does not make it possible for them to get citizenship until one of their children turned 21. So I work there with, so all the parents are TPS, or at least one of the parents, and then all the children are American citizens. They've all been born here. And Trump tried to kick out every TPS person, which was to be about 200,000 people. And it would make about 200,000 or 300,000 children into orphans in a day. So if it didn't go to the court system, he would have made 300,000 orphans in a day, which is about the most Nazi shit ever, you know?
Yeah.
Because people, like, they don't think, like, okay, so you get all the Nazi shit and all the things that the Japanese did to Koreans. So we'll just use World War II, because I don't expect anyone to know Fujimori, Vidalia, or Pinochet is. I mean,
I know who Pinochet is, but I don't know who the
Okay,
first
you got Pinochet.
person.
Okay, good. But they did all their stuff through incremental laws.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of them. He was like trying to just tell people that had been here 20 years. One guy, he has been here since 1989 with the same legal status. He is completely barred from getting this citizenship. And so basically I got for the thing, my project was like they had me go with the kids, and I taught the kids to write narratives about their lives and what it would mean to have their parents taken away, to be deported in a day. And I had the children interview their parents. This was really exciting because the children had never been allowed to just, never been in a situation where they could be like, Mom, you must answer me. Dad, you must answer me. Mm-hmm. The kids were super excited, and the parents were super excited. So then they wrote the articles. They're kind of like articles, narratives, and then we had a giant reading at Writer's Block in Las Vegas, which is like the number one bookstore in Las Vegas, a hipster bookstore.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And they have like a room where the readings are. It's really cute. It's Las Vegas, so everything is like bigger than normal and cuter than normal because we're Las Vegas. And so we had, and all these politicians came, and or their assistants, the senators' assistants came. A couple assemblymen told us, they gave all the kids certificates, and they gave little speeches and everything. The kids randomly, some of them, it was my job to host the event, and I got the kids to come up. Some of them just burst into tears though, and I'm sitting there, I'm the host, you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, the kid's 12 and it's just crying on stage right now. And I would just go up and be like, okay, it's okay. And then I kind of get them off. Then I bring the next one up, and I didn't know if they were going to cry or not. Mm-hmm. But like they would either make it through or they would just burst into tears. Because it was an event where there was no jokes. It was like I had no ability to use my sense of humor, because these kids were just going to tell everyone, listen, if you let this happen, my life will be destroyed.
Yeah.
My parents' life will be destroyed. And so then we did that, and now we're going to take the stories and put them on a national level. And then I think we're flying to Washington, D.C., and they're going to try to get at least one of the kids to go into the House of Representatives and like read a story. I'm supposed to, they just told me last night, but I was drinking, and that I'm supposed to fly to Washington, D.C. or something. But this Ariba thing does events constantly.
Okay.
Like people, so they do training classes. They have training classes for immigrants. They are in a constant movement where they are trying to teach people in every city in America where they have these kind of end-of-line immigrant centers to keep them moving. Like their movement is nonstop. Like their interaction with politicians, their interaction with the media, and they just, every time anyone shows any proficiency that they might be able to organize, they teach them. They just get them. They teach them more classes. They get them. You are the next person. Keep moving. Keep moving. It's really like it's very strange to me because it's like some kind of political thing I'm doing. Like it reminds me of like Allen Ginsberg talking about his parents hanging out with the Wobblies or something in like 1930. Remember when do you know Allen Ginsberg? I know you know he is, but there's that one poem where he's talking about how his parents would bring him to these like political events because they were Jewish and people treated them like crap, and that was like a real thing. Like this is a thing where these children have to go to this political event every Wednesday and sit while their parents have to talk about what are they gonna do next so the dominant majority doesn't destroy their life. And their case for TPS is currently in the court system. They went to the appellate court in California. And even if they say that Trump is right, it can go to what is called an en banc court, where every single appellate judge or something in California has to judge it. And then it can go to the Supreme Court. So they're trying to get it to last until there's a next president.
Sure. Yeah, it's
So
not too long now at this point.
no, we're okay, and I think it's going to be possible. But I don't even think they would leave anyway. They would just go and some sort of, they would hide, and then they would wait until something good happened, and they could reemerge.
Yeah, I mean, the manpower it would take to deport 200,000 people would be intense.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think ICE could handle that.
No, yeah, the logistics behind that is, I mean, that's the thing about our president, right? Is that he says he's going to do things that are just like logistically impossible.
Yeah. He does that every day, right?
Mm-hmm. So that's is that part of the same organization that you do your legal stuff with? Or
No,
is
I
it
work
two
at
different
a
things?
personal injury law firm.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I mean, it helps the knowledge I have from the thing, but it's not related.
Okay. So are you working on any new books or anything right now?
No, not at all.
Great.
Should I just make one up and be like, yeah, I'm working on something. I have some kind of dream.
If you want to.
I don't.
I don't want you to.
I don't have anything. I don't have one dream in my head related to like my own book or something.
Huh.
Do we have any other writing things we can talk about?
Jesus, man. I
don't know how cool I am of a writer anymore. I might have gone and done something else. Maybe the thing you were talking about when you were saying I met you at a different point in your life. Like that different point is transitioned into a different person.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't really feel as angry anymore. Like my mother is dead. She died on January 3rd or something of this year. And I feel like now I feel even better. Like it's like something's over.
Do you feel like you wrote primarily because you were angry then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like this but I also don't know what to write during the Trump times. Like I haven't written at all when he's president. Maybe the day he's not president anymore, I'll walk over to the thing and start typing.
Yeah. Because
I don't know what you're supposed to write during this period of time. Like I just can't figure it out. Like what possibly could be written. And like the thing is like I don't really it's very like I'm reading The Possessed right now by Dostoevsky. Have you ever read that?
Mm-mm.
And it's like pretty good. It's like everybody's political and going insane and becoming like super ravenous and like they're possessed by demons about politics and stuff. And like, but I remember that thing you said earlier about smashing the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the only way the state's going to be smashed is like someone who's really great, like AOC or somebody, some superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
Who's just better at all. Not better. They have something inside them that we don't have. And it could be bad, and it doesn't matter if they're bad or good. As in, this element in, the periodic table of human elements is inside them.
Sure.
I'm actually stealing this from Arthur Rubinstein, the pianist. You know him?
I don't.
Oh my God!
I don't know anything.
Arthur Rubinstein is the great pianist of the early 20th century. So he said that there was something, I'm paraphrasing, through Glenn Gould. Glenn Gould, do you know the pianist Glenn Gould?
No.
So Glenn Gould was telling this story about Arthur Rubinstein the time he hung out with him. And Glenn Gould was a younger guy. And Rubinstein was already old, and Rubinstein said there was something great inside of him, even though he said, I'm not that good. He was like, I miss 30 keys a night. Horowitz, which is another pianist, would only miss 1 key a night, supposedly. I'm like losing my throat here. I apologize. Let me get a drink of water. So Rubinstein said that there was just some element inside like Hitler and Stalin and Roosevelt and, General Sherman or something. Frida Kahlo. Like there was something I don't know if I said it right now. You know what I'm talking about. Frida.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
There's just some magical thing inside them. This element. It doesn't matter if they're good or bad or what they do with it. It's just this thing that's just super powerful. And so you have to get like this super powerful person. But the sad thing is that like you have to convince everyone that someone's wrong. And you kind of smash the state. So you have to kind of make everyone into a bad person for a short period of time to defeat their badness. So you have to become just a little bit more evil to them to win. But then you have to like pull it back and be like, okay, stop being evil really quickly.
Yeah.
But the only way you're gonna beat Mitch McConnell is if you're just a little bit more evil than he is. And like just a little bit more motherfuckery. Like I don't know. I feel like AOC is just gonna be growing. I mean, it's just a positive. It's like being a hopeful, but it's just this kind of character. But I don't know if that's true. I mean, like, I don't think Bernie or Elizabeth Warren have it.
I don't think so either.
I think they're they're okay.
Well,
I don't think they're.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Bernie's interesting. I mean, he doesn't have that element that I think that we're talking about, but he's somehow just like managed to stay in that world. I mean, there's that famous picture of him being like dragged away as a young man by two cops during a protest. Like, I mean, he's been in it, and this is just what he knows, and this is like the next logical step for him. This is just like keep trying to be president until he dies. But I mean, like Rashida Tlaib has interesting things about her, and yeah, there's a couple people, and a couple people even from Michigan that it seems like there could be some good things about them. But that's like the argument against anarchism, right? Is that like all revolutions are inherently authoritarian. So like, what are you going to do? You're going to like have some big powerful leader to organize all these people to overthrow the government and then have them just be like, nope, goodbye everybody.
Oh, you're saying because they're so used to being organized, they're liking it. Yeah,
well, I mean, just like whoever gets put in charge is going to like keep being put in charge. I mean, even George Washington didn't even really want to be president. He was just like, okay guys, I'm gonna go be a farmer now. Like we kicked the British out, and then they were like, no, we're going to make you into a god. And he's just like, no, I don't know about that, but then he did because sense of duty or whatever. We are at time now, so I feel like we gotta. Normally I give who I have on the last word, so I'm gonna give you the last word, and then we're gonna pause, and I'll have you do your reading, and then I will let you go on about your day.
All right, this is really good. Thank you.
So, if you have anything you want to promote or anything you want to say, sort of on, if you have like a call to action or anything.
You should buy Juliet the Maniac by Juliet Escoria. So that's my call to action.
Okay.
Also, you can go and try to find a place in your community that helps immigrants in some way. It's not that hard to find if you Google for 15 minutes. And you could go there and try to do something besides what you're doing. Just, you should probably do it. Javelinas, I had a mission. I was going to walk into the forested part between the railroad and the West Swim Road. It was probably not a good idea. No one ever did it. No one ever left the trails. But there was a part of me that didn't care if I died. During those days, I felt like life was endless. All I could see was endless life ahead of me. There were no locations, no stopping points. There were no candles in any windows. The world had no place for me. I wasn't even being sad. I wasn't even having self-pity. I had no interest in anyone telling me, it is going to get better. The banal platitudes of my country would not save me. All my friends were in Korea, or they had gone back to their homes in America, but I had no home. Wherever I was just there, and that's all. On the way out the door, Dream was walking down the hall and asked me where I was going. I said to the forested part. He told me, man, I'm scared to go there. Are you allowed to go there? I don't think anyone will care. Do you want to come? He stood there thinking about it and said, yeah, let me get the right shoes on. Dream and I walked down the railroad tracks. Dream said, I don't know if my mom wants me going in here. She says there are rattlesnakes. I might run if I see a rattlesnake. If there are rattlesnakes, it'll be okay. They won't even notice us. I don't understand how a rattlesnake couldn't notice us, said Dream. Because they are busy. When we are afraid of snakes, we are projecting ourselves onto the snakes. We are making the snakes aware of us. But really they are snakes, and they are doing their snake thing. They have places to go and things to do. They know what they are doing. They aren't looking for humans to bite. That calmed him a bit. Right before we entered the forested part, I said, we have to walk quietly if we are going to see something. Walk like this. I picked my foot up and then put it down on my toes softly. And then mindfully pushed the back of my foot down. See how quiet that is? You try. Dream, even though he was a big man, did the same kind of steps. Okay, let's be quiet, I said. We slowly walked through the forested part. There were old Utah junipers everywhere. Little tiny cactus balls on the ground. I stepped on a cactus ball. I felt the spikes drive into my foot. I wanted to be angry, but I didn't care. I let it happen. Dream was like, oh shit, Billy, you stepped on a cactus. I was like, yes. We sit down on the ground. I took my shoe off and picked the needles out. The bottom of my foot was bleeding a little, but it wasn't bad. We stood up and walked. I realized we were lost, but I didn't tell Dream. He seemed to have full trust in me. It felt good that anyone trusted me. As we were walking, we heard noises. We both stopped. I loved hearing noises in the woods. I loved feeling the rush that something big and scary might be hiding behind a tree, ready to eat me. The desire to be eating was overwhelming at times, but I didn't tell anyone. Dream and I walked toward the noise. I looked back and Dream looked nervous. Like he wanted to go back, but he had to live up to a certain level of masculinity and keep going. And there they were, a small family of javelinas, little pig-like creatures covered in fur. There was a mom and 3 kids about 30 yards away. I pointed at them and Dream looked. His face lit up. Our faces were full of excitement. The mom looked at us, then suddenly dashed ahead 5 yards toward us, stopped and made a noise. We both got scared. Neither of us had javelina training. We both picked trees and got up in them. We were both only 4 feet above the ground, but that was enough. Javelinas can't climb trees. The mother javelina realized we were no threat. We weren't going to come any closer to her babies. We stood on branches in the trees, looking at the family living their lives. They were just living outside among the rain and cold and heat.